It's time for the show that brings the magic right to your speakers. Ears up!
Hey, welcome to the show, everybody. If you're listening live, that's weird because I only told everyone like 20 minutes ago. It's the rare Saturday recording of the Ears Up podcast. Have we ever recorded on a Saturday before? I don't know that.
I think we did once, and it was a much livelier show, I think, than we're used to.
Yes, it was.
We're all awake.
Exactly.
And not just coming off of work.
Yeah, that's true. Well, we did clean house today, so
that is true. That was definitely some work.
Jeez, sorry about that. Anyway, guys, we have a cool show for you today, as always. I'm just going to assume that for us. We're talking disasters in Disney, and I wish I had some real disaster music to play right now. But pretty much, we alluded to it on the last show. Our friend Miles was in Walt Disney World when Hurricane Irma, I think what it was, right? Irma.
Yep.
When Hurricane Irma hit the resort. So I just kind of thought, well, what is that like? What do they do? I think it's a pretty cool insight into how a major company, a resort, handles something like that. You know, guest safety is a number one, but you also don't want to come off like too protective or too overbearing, I think. So you don't want, people paid a couple of $1,000s probably to be there and spend a bunch of money. So you don't want to turn everybody away. You don't want to send anybody home,
right?
Because it might not be anything. And if this is their once in a lifetime trip to Disney World, well, that's not going to be good either. So
right.
I don't imagine they have to ride this line of like what's tolerable, what's not. Anyway, so Miles is going to join us, and you may remember Miles from our Modeling Disney show. Mm-hmm. But he's going to be on in a little bit here to tell us kind of his experience, and he talked to a few people at Disney and just kind of got the lowdown on what they're doing and why, and what the reaction is from the guests. And I want to talk to Miles about his reaction too, and all that kind of fun stuff. And then we're going to talk to Terrence here, who has done a little bit of research on what Disneyland would do in something like this.
Yeah.
Even though there's no hurricanes in California,
But there are earthquakes.
But there are earthquakes. So. And other stuff. So Terrence is going to chat with us a little bit about that. Not too much info though, right? Because it's kind of not there.
It's not there. They're not going to give you all the info as far as what they do. They're very hush-hush when it comes to security, but you grease the right palms, get some info.
Oh, so. Like that, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
It kind of makes sense that they would be secure about their security because if you think, I read this giant article about 9/11 and at Disneyland, and oh my god, I cried the whole time. But it was it's like if it's an emergency like that, you can't have people knowing what your security systems are because it kind of blows the whole thing. Yeah, right. So it kind of makes sense that it's nearly impossible to find out what they would do.
Right. And also you don't want to put too much information out there because, and maybe it's just me, but when I start reading about the security of Disneyland and all the stuff they do, I start wondering, oh my gosh, how close have I been to this happening while I was at the park? It kind of terrifies me a little bit. And so
absolutely.
I would rather not know. Just take care of me, but don't let me know that you're taking care of me because I don't want to have to think about it.
Or why you had to put these specific
the
specific things in place.
John's.
I didn't want to say John's, but no, I was actually looking for a real word there. But
that's a real word.
Policies. Why you had to put these specific policies into place? What has happened?
Hello there, little princess. Don't worry, you can enjoy your stay at the Disney World Resort. However, you have to wear this crash helmet all day.
Bulletproof vest.
Yeah. Write your social security number on your hand. Jeez. Just do it. Anyway, before we get to all the fun like that, you can find us on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, and also, of course, streaming over at spectroradio.us. So you go over there and listen to some good Disney music. We were listening to that today, although I will say I was complaining a little bit about it, which is not out of my character. It was like the Illuminations of France or something. I don't know what it was. And it was
I
just,
think it was Epcot's France area.
yeah, it was a whole morning of Epcot, which is cool. But some of that stuff for me, I'm like, oh, there's a lot of classical music. And then this guy's talking about the Eiffel Tower in Paris. And I'm like, I don't care. I just don't care. And then it was classical music again, but weird Disney classical music.
Yeah, it sounded like
I didn't dig it, but
it reminded me
not
of
for
like
me.
Snow White, like the background music of Snow White,
yeah.
and that's I think why I was enjoying it.
I mean, I it would be different, I think, if I liked things, but also if I had like seen what they were talking about.
Yeah,
Then I could remember it, and it's like, but I don't know. I guess I was also in the mood for something not, chill. But it was cool. It was cool to see.
Yeah.
It was cool to experience. But it was just, I don't know. It wasn't my thing at 10 in the morning when I'm trying to mop the floors.
You guys
Yeah.
didn't do that for us, right?
no.
No, God, no. Get out of town.
Oh.
No.
Wow,
No, we
didn't
have
know
our
kidding me?
we have announcer guy and his family
Oh,
staying with us.
Okay, yeah, that's true. Okay.
Yeah.
It's our first. It's our first official people staying at our house overnight.
Are they taking the East Wing?
They're taking the East Wing. That's right. That's right. Actually, I think it's the North.
The North Wing?
But no one
of the
says
house?
the North Wing, right? You don't say.
Yeah.
Wow, I hope we got that.
My
I
gosh.
hope we got that too. Apparently, my cats are fighting.
Wow.
I've never heard that sound.
I have literally never heard that before.
I'm sure they're going to be fine though. Anyway, listen to us on Spectro as well. Jeremy's a good dude. On iTunes, you can rate us. You can do all that kind of stuff. You can find us on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest. Any feedback on the show goes to Taryn at earsup-podcast.com. Any compliments for anything at all, not even necessarily on the show.
My
but,
shirt.
But Terrence's weird shirt.
People are saying that when they close their eyes, like people watching us live, when they close their eyes, they still see my shirt because it's so bright and so loud.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I love it.
I do have you potted down a little bit to compensate for your shirt. That goes to Terrence at earsup-podcast.com, and you can say hi
Hello.
to Bev at earsup-podcast.com, and anything else if you want, or everything, whatever you want, comes to me. I'm Jason. We do have a blog, which, of course, I have not done our Disney Animated Classics review.
Somebody might want to
I'll
go
go
on that.
check.
Yeah,
sure
go check on the kids, would you please?
Holy crap.
No, I apologize. People listening to this, it's not very interesting.
It's here.
Our Disney Animated Classics review I have not done. However, I did post a blog that Terrence did from the last show about his Chicken and Waffles Disneyland food hack.
Did you watch the film? Have you watched the film yet?
So you can go to the blog and learn all about Terrence's Disneyland food hack. I think that'd be amazing. No, it's on YouTube. I know I have to do it, but Destiny 2 came out a couple weeks ago, so that's kind of what I've been playing.
Wait, which movie is it you're supposed to be writing on?
I forget now. I don't even.
I'll do it. I'll take it.
Why?
Oh,
Okay.
BRB. We'll edit this all out. We'll edit this all out.
seems to be the only one bleeding. That was fun.
Wow, that's crazy. We should leave that in.
I think it's still recording.
It is.
Okay.
Dan, if you are listening, the lyrics to Golden Girls is not, and the heart attack will say, thank you for being a friend. It says, the card attached will say, thank you for being a friend.
We'll be right back. Cat fight. Between Taryn and Bev. No, Taryn would win.
Just going to keep her in here for now.
Yeah.
Sorry, buddy. Wow, that was weird.
That was the weirdest thing that's happened in this house so far.
It's a good thing I still was recording because it's interesting radio.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
Strangely enough, everyone stuck around.
Well, you have to now. I mean, that's just it.
I wonder if they could hear it. If they could hear the meow over the...
I don't know.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Okay, you can support Ears Up via our Amazon link. I mean, I guess... So, yeah, apparently the mom cat here, who I have, and she's a nice old lady, she got attacked by one of her stupid kids who are old enough to know better.
They are old enough to know
And
better.
they kind of corner her sometimes, and she freaks out, and so that's why I didn't really think anything of it. But we came up there.
It was a crime scene.
Yeah, and
Things
there was
got
blood from her tail, I guess. One of the cats had attacked her tail, and, she's doing fine. She's just sitting on the floor like she wasn't really doing anything, but... so now I have her in the studio, so I can better keep an eye on her. I know.
Poor girl.
I know, it's real sad. Yeah, it's real sad.
Oh,
But
boy.
Anyway, so sorry about that. I'm talking to the cat, not the audience now.
Oh, right.
You can support Ears Up by shopping on our Amazon link on our homepage. You can shop Coveyears. Go to getcoveyears.com. I am ordering more. They are on order now. More Churro Castle shirts. They will be here, I think, in a couple of weeks. We have some women's sizes now, finally, in stock. So that's going to be fun for everybody. You can also, of course, go to patreon.com/earsup to sign up to be a Patreon supporter over there and check out all the fun things you get from doing that. All right, Taryn, let's do some feedback because we got to get to Miles here.
Okay. First one we've got today is from Ashley. I just started listening not too long ago, but I love your podcast. It makes my commute livable. I'm slowly catching up on your shows, and I just want to say that I love the history episodes. My favorite thing is learning about the history of the parks and rides. I've been to Disneyland maybe 20 times in my 29 years. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And I see
bad.
I see something new every time I go, and since listening to your podcast, specifically the history episodes, I can't wait to go and see everything with a fresh eye. I have a Disney trip coming up with my little family for my daughter and mom's birthday, November 6th. Yes, they share a birthday.
Nice.
My mom said it was the best gift she'd ever been given. Anyway, my husband and I have 3 children, and we all love Disney. Listening to your podcast has really gotten me into the Disney spirit, which admittedly isn't hard for me to do, but still. Thanks for doing a great job, and you will probably hear from me again because I get too excited when I listen and try to talk to you guys before I realize you aren't really there. Thanks again.
Oh, we're there.
Thank you.
Don't worry about it. We
We're
hear
always
everything.
And we might be there the same time as her, depending on how long she's there. If she's going November 6th.
That's right. That's right.
We'll be there November...
Well, 11th
maybe
for
10th?
sure, but maybe 10th, maybe even 9th. Who knows?
Maybe. Next one is from Mocha. Hi, guys. I've been listening to your podcast for a little over 2 months now, and have to say it's the best Disneyland podcast out there. I'm an annual pass holder and try to get to the parks as I can, but when I can't, your podcast gives me the Disney fix I'm longing for. My husband and I recently took our daughter to the park for her first birthday.
Aww.
That deserved the awe. As big Disney foodies, we tried lots of the new Halloween food. The mummy macaroons, yummy.
Oh, yeah.
But most importantly, we tried the Terrence's Chicken and Waffles hack.
Whoa!
Now,
Okay.
Did you strain?
Yeah, yes. Did you ask the cast member to waste a bunch of their life straining out little bits of strawberry?
She doesn't say specifically if she did each part, but I'm assuming she did.
I want write back and let us know whether you had the strawberries or not, because I think that you have to have them straightened out. I think it makes it so much better.
You're
You're judging me to my
No,
face.
no, not at all. Not at all. I'm not judging you at all.
Are you going to try it in
I
November
am.
when we go?
Yes.
Okay. All right, good.
No, I'm not.
No.
Probably.
All of the nose.
I don't know. I think I'll just try it with strawberries because I'm too what's the word? Nice of a guy. I don't want to put them through extra work. I mean, they get paid $8 an hour or something. I'm not going to have them strain out strawberries from my weird thing.
It's 20 seconds. It's literally 20 seconds of their life. It's not that big of a deal.
They could help another customer in that time.
No, that's
No,
never
if I
happened
were
at
in line
Disneyland.
behind you, I would want to pull out a shiv.
Oh my God, for sure.
Or you copy my order, one of the two. You'd be like, "Hey, that guy knows how to eat. All right, I want what he
Clearly.
I'll have what he's having."
Oh my goodness. Oh boy. Well, she thought it was delicious. In
Yes.
all caps. She says, I'm one to try new and creative foods everywhere we go, and this one is definitely one we will have again. Thanks for the great idea, and keep up the good work.
All right, we'll
So-
try. Thank you very much.
Good job, Terrence,
Come up
once
with
again.
something else. See if I can have another hack before we go into November.
Churro hamburgers, where you get a hamburger and you take the meat out and you cut the churro in half, and then you have the churro in the buns.
You have to ask the person from the churro cart to cut the churro in half for you so that you can. And then the people who make the burgers, they need to
Terrence,
make it long
stop.
and thin so that they can put
Right.
it on
Just
the churro.
you get a churro and then you go over to best wiener in a supporting role,
yes.
and you get
Oh,
that.
how gross.
Churro dog? You can
Yeah,
do that?
churro
No,
dog.
that is
Cut
disgusting.
open the churro and
Stop
make
it.
it into a bun.
Put mustard
Put
and
the-
kraut.
Crowd.
My stomach just went.
That's way too far.
No, so bad.
Churro dog. Hey, bro, I heard you like carbs, so I put carbs in your carbs.
Oh boy. Okay, well, speaking of bad, here's another feedback.
Yeah.
This is from PJ. I've had my annual pass for a little.
PJ?
Yes.
Okay.
I've had my annual pass for a little over a year now, and I couldn't find a decent podcast for Disneyland until I came upon Ears Up.
There you go.
I love the quality, content, and sound quality. My only feedback is that Jason is negative about so many things, it's really turning me off from listening and contributing to the podcast. Everyone else on the podcast is great, and I love hearing from them, but Jason is always berating. The Run Disney show was nothing but, this and blah that. Could we just have a Terrence, Taryn, and Bev show, please? Or learn to lighten up Jason.
Look, try being his friend.
I thought the Run Disney show was actually pretty.
I thought I was probably the most negative part of the Run Disney show.
Yeah, I thought it was. I don't
trying to
remember really
run.
what I said, other than like sharing a normal person's opinion about. Like, hey, we all go to the gym. Wow, that's tough, right? Ugh, that was hard. But I had
Yeah.
a really good time. So I don't really know what DJ's talking about.
PJ.
Whatever.
Well, and I actually went back and listened to it because I'm not gonna lie, maybe it's probably because you're my husband or whatever, but like I was very offended by this, and so I went back and listened, and I was like, I don't see it, and maybe I'm jaded, I don't know, but I was like, I think it was actually
Go ahead, Terrence.
probably one of our most positive.
I think that you've made huge strides over the last year to become more positive.
Well, because I'm tall, I got long legs.
Yes, huge strides. I also think
You're
that
also
you are
stupid.
way more open-minded than you have been in the past as well.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. When I hear this, I'm like, I don't see it. I don't see it. But I would also say that I would never have a Terrence, and Beverly Disney podcast.
Oh, neither would I.
No one
because
would listen
wouldn't
to it
be-
except for PJ.
It wouldn't. It would just be
By the way, thanks,
something
PJ.
ridiculous. Yeah, I know. It would just be ridiculous.
It would be
No,
bad.
I think you're fine.
I mean,
Don't count us out.
if you guys want to do a show all by yourselves, it wouldn't replace this
Look,
show.
let me
But if you
just-
want to do a sub show, I'm okay with that. I
Let
don't
me just
care.
tell you.
You can do whatever you want.
Let me just
Nah,
tell you how
son.
that would go.
Yeah.
Remember the She Gone idea?
Yeah.
And how that has never happened. It's never gone anywhere because ain't
'Cause she
anybody
gone.
trying to do work.
Right.
It would basically be She Gone, and then also talking about 80s sitcoms. That's all the show would be.
And how Terrence loves Dorothea?
No,
Blanche?
Blanche. Apparently, that was his first crush.
I saw that and I responded with
That is no
gross.
one's first
I'm
crush.
sorry,
You're-
Blanche was
you're
your first
weird.
crush.
The first crush that I can remember having was Blanche Devereaux, and then also the I can never remember her name, but on the Heathcliff show, the cat
Bro.
that was dating.
Bro.
Stop.
Bro.
She was cute. She was super cute.
But to have a
and
crush.
Chitara too.
I'm going to need you to stop talking forever.
See, this is how you know I'm a normal human being. Mine was Punky Brewster.
Ugh,
Yeah,
really?
that's normal though.
Nah, son, no.
Bro, Soleil Moonfry? Are
No.
you serious?
When she got a little
Good
bit,
actress.
when she got a
Sounds
little
delicious.
bit older, and she was on.
It's not a food, Bev. Soleil moon fry.
I'll have the Soleil moon fry and a Diet Coke.
Yeah, it's a French Creole, like.
Oh boy.
It's like poutine. Soleil moon fry.
I know she's a person, but just the way you said it sounded like a dish, and I was like,
Now she's hungry. Anyway, for PJ, look, I appreciate you sharing your opinion, but
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess just like my negative opinions, they're my opinion, and your negative opinions about my negative opinions are your opinion. And while I understand it, I don't know. That's kind of who I am. I'm not overly berating on anything. This is also an entertainment show, and part of the balance that I have brought in to balance my dislike for kind of a lot of stuff is people who are very positive about a lot of stuff. So that's the makeup of the show, homie. And I don't know what to say. I'm glad you're still listening, but if I don't know. I'm not going to stop being me for because you don't like it. So
Well, and
I apologize, but I don't really apologize.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
I think
Just do a
also.
sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, I did.
Well, I think that this is another opportunity for us to just tell people that we're not that show that we think everything Disney is perfect and great and lovely,
Right.
and we're never going to be. So if you want that, then you probably shouldn't be listening to this show.
Yeah, and I don't want that because nobody, no person, no corporation, no theme park, no entertainment focal point ever does everything right.
Yeah.
And when we started the show, I really wanted to make that clear. Like, Disney messes up some stuff, and it's okay to vent about stuff you don't like. It's okay to do that. It doesn't mean that you're negative. It doesn't mean that you're wrong. I admit and I say it on the show, I'm wrong. I understand I'm on the wrong side of a lot of things that I argue against, like the Tower of Terror redesign. People seem to love it. I think it's terrible looking. Okay, so there you go. But I think people who agree with me would appreciate a voice as well. So anyway, thanks for listening, and I don't know.
Catch you in the parks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Catch you on the flippity flop.
Our last one today is from Sabrina. I think she's written in again because that's a unique name that I remember.
She's a teenage witch.
It starts with a Z.
Oh, Sabrina.
Sabrina.
Sabrina. Whatever, Soleil moon fry.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Every time she hears that name, her stomach's going to go. Go ahead, Taryn.
Hello, Ears Up family. Just listen to the most recent podcast when I heard Mattercorn. I totally thought about the delicious corn on the cobs that they sell with the seasoning on it. And she laughs. And congrats on the new Ears Up baby. I have to say that I enjoy every ride at both Disneyland and DCA in their own little way. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously there are rides I will go on 1,000,000 times, but others that I at least go on once a trip. I've listened through all of your podcasts 5 times so far because I just can't get enough.
Wow.
That's kind of awesome.
I haven't
Super
done that.
fan.
no, me either.
That's great.
I'm excited to continue to listen to the new episodes, and I'm feeling the need to go to Disneyland sooner than later. You guys make me miss it even more than I already do. XOXO. Sabrina.
Wow,
thank
that's
you.
really cool feedback. Thank you very much.
Yes. Awesome. That's it for feedback today.
That's it. Okay, perfect. Let's get Miles on the phone then, and talk to him about his harrowing adventure in Walt Disney World during the hurricane, and see what kind of cool stuff they have going on. And I remember thinking, like, what is this fool doing there, dude?
Insane.
Leave. That'll be one of my first questions. Like, why didn't you leave? Who would stay there?
I don't think that they were letting people leave, really. Like, flights were canceled and things.
Yeah.
Miles, what's up, dude?
How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you doing?
I got to escape this Fresh Hop Festival. I got to get out of the crowd.
Yeah, if I was at a Fresh Hop Festival, I'd leave too.
There we go. All right. Good to hear from you guys.
Yeah, you too, man. It's been a long time. It's been at least a year, I think, right? Yeah. Since that modeling show.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
That was one of our more popular shows, by the way. That's like...
Oh, come on now.
No, I swear to God,
really?
in our numbers, that was one of the first shows to really start taking off. I think part of me thinks that it's because I titled it Modeling Disney, and I think that a lot of people were thinking, oh, I could be a model, but...
Or like Disney bounding.
Yeah, who knows? But they stuck through it, and it's one of our most popular episodes, so I appreciate you coming on and doing that.
Right on. I mean, over that amount of time, the past year or so, I feel like I really know you guys, and I cannot wait for the 100th episode down at Disneyland. That's going to be so much fun.
Oh, you're coming. That's awesome.
Nice.
Absolutely. I wouldn't miss it.
Oh, that'll be great, man.
Exciting.
I appreciate
I'm really
that.
excited to meet people, like,
Yeah.
face to face.
Yeah.
I mean, I won't have anything to say because I'm really awkward. I'll be like, hi.
I'm not going to be nearly as funny as Jeremy, I'll tell you that.
And then I'll leave. Okay. Actually, that's fine. Just say hi and walk away, and I'll be cool with it.
I don't think anybody's as funny as Jeremy is.
Well, Miles, don't underestimate yourself with a box wine in your hand. Then because who knows?
Oh, then I'll try to be better.
That's Jeremy's.
Yeah.
Jeremy's John. So hey, man. So let me talk to you about Walt Disney World and the hurricane. I kind of don't even know where to begin because it's such a weird story to me, not having lived through it, that somebody would voluntarily stay there with like 10,000 other people or whatever. I don't know how many people were there. But you were there. You decided you had planned your trip. You said like a year ago, or a year in advance. So you weren't going to back away from it.
No way. And, that's a trip, getting across country. And especially we took Clara. So she's 16 months old. And this was really a trip for my wife, Katie. And my parents came along to watch Clara. So, if, we wanted to go out and do adult stuff, we could do that. But there was no way I was going to let some stupid hurricane, even if it was the most powerful storm in the past 100 years, get in the way of my Disney.
There you go.
I appreciate your priorities.
Yeah, that's
Damn right.
So do me a favor, man. Let's go through a little bit about. So you guys are at the resort when things start looking bad, or had you even left yet when the media started pumping this thing up?
Well, we kind of, hurricanes are funny, right? They can turn not quite on a dime, but they change, they shift almost hour to hour, and so. When hurricane season comes around, I could wish hurricanes away and wish that nobody ever experienced them, but I can't. So I'm a fan. Like I watch hurricanes as hurricane season comes. So this was on our radar, but I thought maybe it would just run right up and hit Texas again, and those poor Texans. But at least my vacation would be saved.
Did you say you're a fan of hurricanes?
So hurricane hits like Sunday night, Monday morning, but we had gotten to the resort at Tuesday before, and so when Thursday, Friday come around, we're really like, okay, what do we do? Do we call do we call Delta or call Alaska, whoever our flights are through? Do we call them and say, what are the chances that we can get out of here before this thing happens? But the more time that went by, the more I saw Disney preparing for this, and you know how they are. Everything's happy, right? There's a monster storm coming, and everyone's got a smile on their face. That's Disney's thing, right? They need to make you feel happy, but also very secure, as if this is the place to be. And it turned out that was the place to be, and the locals know it.
Wow. I don't know. I'd like to think I'm okay at customer service. I don't know if I would be doing that. I would be, you'd see a smile on my face, but my eyes would be dead windows into my soul. That's like 100,000 miles away, man. So as this thing is building up, it hit what, Sunday night, Monday morning of your stay, right?
Yeah, and so the parks start to get lighter in crowds, which was really nice. I feel like I've never had a time at Walt Disney World that was super packed anyway. It's not like Disneyland is.
Yeah.
So a little bit of food and wine was still going on at Epcot. It's past Labor Day, so crowds are a little light, but they really, by Saturday, and they close the park early, which is 9 p.m. That's early for them. Crowds are fantastic. We're having a great time. It's starting to look pretty stormy, but, throw on your ponchos. And I mean, that's a normal Florida day anyway, right? It rains almost every day in Florida.
You hear that, Bev? It's Florida.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
Anaheim. You don't need a poncho in Disneyland, hardly ever.
I was just trying to be prepared and spend a ton of money.
Right. I mean, when Taryn and I went on our honeymoon to Disney World, it was in September. It was late September, right around that time, actually. And, we had ponchos, and we actually legitimately had to wear them for 20 minutes or whatever.
Yeah,
and
they were
that
necessary.
was fine. But I couldn't imagine that storm or that amount of humidity being pushed because of a hurricane. Was it just torrential downpours?
Well, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, there was rain, just like you said. It's 20 minutes. It's ungodly pouring. Like it pours like nothing we ever see in California or Oregon. But when it does, it's over pretty quick. And if you can make it, you just, get under the people mover or duck into the carousel of progress. And you just wait it out. Everyone gets right back to what they're doing. And their drainage system is fantastic, usually. Wow. So that's one of the great things about this is knowing the history of Walt Disney World. I knew that they had buried power lines because everyone loses power. 3 million plus people in the state had lost power. Disneyland hadn't even seen a flicker. And then they have this amazing, well-engineered system of canals, as you guys saw when you were there, riding the monorail or whatever. Yeah. They move water like nobody's business because they're really running their own improvement district at 28,000 acres. So they had to engineer the entire thing. So we start seeing that. We start seeing Friday night. I'm thinking, oh, buddy, everybody's getting out of town. Like, people are checking out in droves. I'm like, how many people are going to be left at this resort? Is it going to be a ghost town? Turns out they were checking in. They're bringing their dogs. They're coming from Miami or the coast, Tampa, because they know that Disney will have plenty of food, always have water, and never run out of power. And those resorts are built like bunkers. So I was really impressed by Saturday night, Sunday morning. I'm like, okay, I'm feeling really good about this. I just get to add Hurricane to my vacation list and bucket list.
Disney's the only company in Florida that saw a revenue increase.
That's a local thing. It sounds like that everybody knows. Okay, if it's going to get really bad, which is another reason why. And we talked about it on an early show. If there's ever a zombie apocalypse, where do you go? Disneyland.
Yeah, they know what they're
doing.
That's
where you go. So, but that's really cool that the locals knew this, and they had enough faith in the engineering and how everything was going to go down that they knew that they would be safe.
I would probably do the same thing. I would use any sort of storm, whether it was just a July afternoon where there was a lightning strike. I would just run to Disney and use that as an excuse to go on vacation. Hey, why not? Head on over. But yeah, they absolutely love it, and nobody seemed to have any problem. What I was really impressed with was they know how to entertain guests and keep their attention on still having a magical experience. I sound like a pitchman for Disney now. But,
how much are you getting off
the characters out? We stayed at Port Orleans French Quarter, and they had characters out until 10 p.m. and they're doing games with the kids, and the kids, don't have time to get scared because they're too busy still having fun. It's almost like, well, they're not in the park. This is almost just as good because they're getting free handouts, and they've changed the menu and for food and all sorts of fun stuff. So, you just can't go walking about. You can't go beyond resort property. So
so they kind of locked it down for you guys.
Yeah, so after the parks close Saturday, and they're calling your room and leaving messages to tell you what to expect. They have really big billboards out front, sandwich signs telling you this is what we're going to do for you. This is what to expect, almost hour by hour. Starting Sunday, we don't want you to leave your resort, which means whatever your hotel is. Don't take a car and try to head out to the AM PM. Stay on property and stay in your resort, and then starting Sunday evening at like 8 p.m., don't leave your room until we give the all clear.
Wow. Was that hard to have to stay in your room?
It wasn't for my wife. She was done walking, so she's like, thank God I get 48 hours of not... Because I drag everybody around. I'm like an 18-year-old. I'm just running like a kid, It was hard for me because I'm like Bill Paxton in Twister, I'm like, this is amazing. I'm outside holding onto signposts, blowing sideways. And my wife's like, you're insane. But, when 80-mile-per-hour winds hit, it doesn't matter. I mean, even Disney lost, whether it was trees or parts of buildings or, nobody is going to... get out of that unscathed. So that was intense. It was 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. was really when that eye wall came through with the really, really harsh winds. And I was a little nervous, but everyone else was asleep, so it was just me.
So you were fine. And were there rumblings about the resort, about if this is the right idea to stay? Were other people scared, or was it pretty much just like this weird island utopia where you knew you were safe, you knew everything was going to be fine because you trusted the company, or somewhere in between?
No, I would say it's absolutely we trusted them 100%. I looked at the faces of the fellow guests, but the people I really talked to were the important cast members, right? And so the cast members get to stay at that resort, or they get bused somewhere very close by. But a lot of them, get to go in suites, or they get really nice rooms because they're some of them are actually volunteering because they're not supposed to be working, but they're really good at entertaining kids or helping with prep work. But I start seeing these same cast members at 11 p.m. when I go down to refill my soda, and when I get back up at 7 a.m., it's the same cast member. And I'm like, did you sleep last night? It's all hands on deck, all cast members, just to make sure the guests are taken care of and safe.
Wow, it's so incredible because who's taking care of them? Like, they have to be scared too.
Yeah.
But they're just putting on that happy face. That's kind of amazing.
Yep, and some of them had been there. They talked about Charlie, which was one of the few or more recent hurricanes that had caused some issues at the resort or the total property. But that one wasn't as scary, I guess. And so, in 46 years of Disney World being open, the entire property, this was only day 5 and day 6 they closed. So just dumb luck, on our vacation. Luck, good or bad, depends on how you look at it. We lost 2 days in the parks, but so what? It was a killer time all the way through.
Oh, it sounds like a cool, a cool memory too. So when you're hanging out in the room and things are blowing around, are you seeing trees fall? Did you see any of that kind of stuff happening, or you're just staying away from the window? Because I would be under the bed. Let's be honest. Yeah. Because I've seen too many movies about windows blowing in and shattering, and then you're blinded, and you have to go through life with superpowers, but you're blind. It's a whole thing.
Wow.
No, man, I had that thought. I'm like, all right, let's move Clara's crib away from the window just in case. And then when I would go to the window, Katie had wanted nothing to do with it. I would go to the window, and there were some trees that were taking a beating, but, a lot of them were palm trees, and those types of trees are just meant for this. They usually get through it. The trees that really took damage are some of the trees you see that are southern trees, and if it's swampy, their roots really grow wide and not so much deep. So some of the big trees came down. Luckily, every one of those went away from buildings.
Okay.
In the morning, we did have one tree that fell against the building. Other than that, it was pitch black outside when I was trying to look, and it's just that's nonstop rain from Sunday morning until Monday morning. That was 24 hours of torrential water, and both of the Port Orleans resorts are right next to a river, and that river started to rise, even though they had control of the water there. That was just too much water. But wake up Monday morning, there's just junk everywhere. But I just decided to take a tour of both the Port Orleans resorts. So I walked for about 2 hours and just, the swimming pools are full of all sorts of garbage and leaves and branches. Some trees look like they've been struck by lightning. They look like they had exploded. Wow. But it was just an experience. And I said, okay, if I can't leave the resort, I'm at least going to walk as far as they let me. And so what else am I going to do with my time? They give us free Disney movies on the old cable there, so we didn't have to pay for those. But I can only watch Mulan, 4 times in a row before I start
True
going
story.
crazy. So.
Right. Geez, yeah, that's incredible, man. So they were really on top of it. They were monitoring the storm, and it sounds like their first priority, of course, is, taking care of the guests. And so they will. Did it feel like they jumped the gun on anything? They locked you down too early, or did that even matter to you because it's better safe than sorry kind of a thing?
Well, this is, again, one of those times where I felt like Disney nailed it with everything. Even the fact that we were allowed to be in the parks until, almost normal close on Saturday, that was fantastic. They were being perfectly cautious on Sunday and Monday. And, they, like you said in one of your last podcasts, they still had rides down almost a week later. But when we walked into the park, went to Epcot on Tuesday, I think I noticed maybe an empty spot where a tree had been, but other than that, it was pristine, sparkling, like it is almost every day. I couldn't tell a thing, which was amazing. They only had 24 hours to get that park ready, all the parks ready. And Epcot and I think Magic Kingdom were pretty close to 100%. So just unbelievable how they do that.
Their infrastructure.
They had an army of people out there.
Yeah.
Their parking lots, the resort parking lots are just full of electrical trucks and tree cutting trucks and disposal trucks, and they're putting all those people up at the resort as well. So there's armies of just guys coming in that are like fire and rescue and construction, and so everybody's working towards the common goal of getting that money machine back up and going.
Yeah, for
Pretty
sure,
much.
man.
Wow.
Got to spend money to make money.
Yeah, well, and that's incredible that you were able to walk the parks the next day, and that everything was back.
Like
That's
Disneyland,
crazy.
you were at Disneyland, like
Nothing happened.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Exactly.
I mean, that speaks to the infrastructure that they have in place, the plan that they have in place, and that you felt safe, probably safer than you would anywhere else. To be honest, I mean, at least I would. I would no longer fear. I remember when we went on our honeymoon, I was like, "It's hurricane season. What's going to happen? What's going to go down?" But after hearing your experience, Miles, I would be more comfortable because I would have no doubts.
Well, I can't get over the fact that people from like Miami were coming to the resort because that's their safe haven. Like that to me, that speaks volumes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Exactly. Taryn, when I started seeing all those dogs running around, I knew that something was up, and people just were coming in droves. So it was, and I asked cast members, I said, "What's your vacancy now?" And they said, "We're at 100% capacity. Can't fit anybody else." I went, "Okay, this is the place to be."
Yeah, absolutely.
And when you were talking with these cast members, were you asking about just their past experience with this stuff, or kind of how this was laid out and how the company works to make sure that everybody and the property is safe during something like this?
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys do that now. I think the more we spend talking about Disney, the more interested we are in those things that happen kind of beyond eyesight. And so talking to cast members, whether I'm at Disneyland asking about, when do they get to come in or what do they get to see backstage stuff, I did the same thing. I asked them a dozen questions. Just where do you go? What do you do? What is your experience? What should I be doing? Do you have any advice? Do I need to try and go get a bunch of bottled water or stockpile Twinkies or whatever? And they all just had a smile on their face, like, "Oh no, we've done this before. This is what we usually expect." And even though this was heralded as an unprecedented storm, it did kind of peter out, and I think we got really lucky. But they never blinked. They were perfect.
Was there another level to this? Like, what if that thing had hit the park dead on? Is there a bunker to go into, or you kind of you're in your hotel room and they're built to withstand that?
As far as I know, they're built to withstand a Category 5. And one of the things about the minute a hurricane, no matter what category it is, the minute it touches land, it starts to die at that, within a mile of hitting land. And so where Orlando is, and even Lake Buena Vista is even more inland, I would be surprised if they were ever hit by a Category 5, just because of they're kind of landlocked. But I think that their buildings, I don't know necessarily about the structures in the parks, but I think at least the resorts are meant to withstand probably a Category 5. Shutters and stuff are always going to blow around and blow off, and pieces are going to come off the roof, but the structures themselves, I think, are just made of steel. And so they never really thought about that. We all kind of just said, by the time it gets here, especially if it just grinds its way up the coast, it's not going to be that scary by the time it hits.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Miles, it sounds like you and your family had a memorable vacation, man. And I was watching the videos you were posting on Facebook, and I was like, geez. I was like, get out. What are you doing? Leave, man.
Right?
Go.
Nah. It was a fun being that. No, I would never put my family's safety ahead of just me joyriding. But I think there was never a minute that even my mom, who usually gets scared at most basic things, she looked to Disney and they comforted her, and that's all it took.
Wow.
So yeah, that's my experience, and it was fantastic.
That sounds great, man. And you sound like you're just there still. You're pumped about it.
yeah.
Like I can hear the joy.
Even after a week, I don't know. you go to Disneyland for 3 days, and by the time you're done, you're tired, and then within a week, you're wishing you were back. So it's one of those
That's
things.
true.
So,
That's true.
I can't wait to see you guys in a couple months. And Terrence, let's take a funnel cake and stack a turkey leg on top of it. Huh?
Bro, turkey and waffles. Oh man.
Oh, geez.
All right, Miles, we'll let you go, dude.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
See you
Thanks,
soon, huh?
Thanks, man. Yep.
Cheers.
All right,
Bye.
cheers, man. Bye. Wow, that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
That is crazy. So even though we don't have those kind of storms here,
Right.
Terrence, we do have earthquakes and other kind of disasters.
We do. And so I decided to shout out to Michael, a reliable source on this. We cannot interview him on the show regarding this. And so I asked him, could he give me a little bit of information about what would happen at Disneyland if there was an emergency. And he gave me as much information as he could. Of course, there's a lot of stuff he couldn't say. There's not a lot of stuff published or posted anywhere about this because, they want you to be safe, but they don't want to get the information into the wrong hands.
Right.
Right. And have people be able to sidetrack security. So I'll just tell you what it was. So the first thing I asked about, I said, let's talk about earthquakes. Now, I've never...
Because it's California.
Because it's
Right.
California, right?
They
That's
happen.
we don't have... I need to move this.
That's our John.
Yeah, that's our John. We don't have we don't have hurricane season. We don't have tornado season. We have... Holy crap! There's an earthquake happening. That's what we have here in California.
Season. We just
Season.
Right, season. Exactly. So it's one of the unexpected things that you can't plan for, but you have to be able to respond to immediately. And so I asked. So I said, so for instance, I'm at the park, I'm on a ride, an earthquake hits. What happens? And what really happens? It kind of depends on the severity of the earthquake. So if you're on a ride and an earthquake happens, you may not even know it. It may be a small enough earthquake where you don't know it. You might be in line, you feel a little bit of a rumble, but that's it. But you wouldn't really,
Which is most of the earthquakes in California. So anybody who
right.
doesn't live in California,
Yeah.
don't worry.
They're
We're
not that bad.
It's not like watching LA Story where they're just like going with it and whatever.
Right.
It's most of the time you don't feel them because they're 2 on the Richter scale and under. It's totally fine.
right. So you wouldn't. So
Or you do and you're like,
was that an earthquake? Yeah, exactly. So you won't. You won't have to worry about anything happening majority of the time if the earthquake happens. But if it's an earthquake and it's pretty good shock, the security people are the first ones to jump into trying to bring people together. They actually do have. He couldn't give me the information about it, but they do have an evacuation system for the entire park, some going out the front gate, some going through backstage areas. If you're on the ride, the cast members are all trained. So if there is an issue, like there's a CPR issue, they're trained to be able to administer CPR, but also at the same time, they're the ones who do the evacuation on the rides as well.
Well, and the rides stop, I think, right?
Yes, there's automatic
Immediately?
There's automatic sensors on the rides that if there is an earthquake, it stops immediately. Because say for instance you're on Space Mountain and there's an earthquake, you don't know what could happen. You could be jostled off. It could be taken off the track.
Well,
There's
and
a
you
lot
don't
of
know
things-
what happened to the track, maybe further down on the ride.
Exactly.
Something may have fallen from the roof.
Exactly. So if you're on the ride, you most likely will. Well, not most likely. You will stop immediately on the ride, but you most likely will be on the ride for the duration of the earthquake, and then the lights will come on or whatever, depending where you are, and then you'll have a cast member come and get you and escort you off of the ride if that
Well,
happens.
And one thing that I was, when I started thinking about this, I started having a little bit of a panic attack because not all rides are just have a machine moving you forward. Like Space Mountain, some of it is just gravity.
Right.
Screamin', a lot of it is just gravity. So then what happens on those rides?
When the gravity stops.
Well, when there's an earthquake and you're going down on Screamin', like what happens?
Right.
And I don't have the answer to that, but I do remember when we. So sorry, you get to panic now too. But I do know that when we were on Space Mountain,
Literally, no one's panicking. Go ahead.
think about it.
I am.
There were brake systems every 10 feet or something. So even in those gravity parts, they're not used except for I think in this kind of situation. So
Right.
that's I guess how they do it. I've never seen those brake systems on Screamin', but
So I don't know that they exist.
Sort of don't ever want to go on that ride again.
Well, you never
but
seen them on Space Mountain either.
I have. When we got stuck in there, I was looking around for them.
But you don't. But did
Well, I
you
mean,
see
I don't
him?
know if it was
Right.
a brake system, but I was like, "There's
Okay.
one. There's one. There's one."
All right. So just do the same thing on Screaming. Just look
too
around.
fast.
Yeah, look around and go. There's one. There's one.
But like, could
They're
you
not fun.
imagine being at the top and like it lets you go, and then there's a rattler, and it's just
Or
god.
the loop.
Yeah, right.
People have been stuck on that loop.
Oh, hard pass.
In the loop?
I think
How?
so.
I feel like yes. I
think so.
You're right.
You should research that. Someone research that while
Ugh.
Terrence continues.
Nah, son. All right. So, but there's no cutoff. There's no absolute magnitude of this or above. You just play it by ear. You know, you look at the severity of what's going on. Play it by
I
ear.
would think that to answer Terrence's question, if the ride starts shaking, the air brakes engage.
Yes, exactly.
So,
Exactly.
and maybe they're either on the ride car themselves,
Right.
or somewhere, like you said, like every 10 feet, there's just an emergency braking system that stops the thing.
Right. Okay, so I went on, and so I'm trying to think of these things. I'm not like these crazy outlandish things, but things that happen all the time. So there's a medical emergency. So we've heard of the severe medical emergencies that have happened, like, you know, on Big Thunder, where someone, you know, loses their head, you know, like quite literally, and they immediately shut down the ride, usher everyone away. They deal with it like that. But what about the smaller emergencies? So basically, if something like that happens, it depends on what the severity of the emergency is. But every time there is an emergency, one of the Disneyland nurses responds as well. So the Disneyland nurse is responding with the medical call, unless the guest says that they don't want the nurse there for some reason. So if it's like a sprained ankle, they're like, no, it's good. But if it is something more severe than that, there's always a nurse that goes with that. The response is less than 5 minutes, and they're always taken immediately backstage for treatment. So you won't see the medical staff of Disneyland working on someone
Like
at a
wrapping an
ride.
ankle or
No, you will
bandaging
not
a
see that
wound or something like
because
that.
it immediately takes you out of that safe Disney space.
Right.
So they will never do it like that. They'll immediately take them backstage and work on them there. It's like, okay, that's cool. But what about if there's a medical emergency because people are brawling?
Oh,
Like I
Yeah.
wanted
I didn't
to know
even
that.
think about that.
Because I've seen not fist fights, but I've seen shoving. I've seen
oh
people
yeah.
get
I've
upset.
I've seen an almost cat fight.
Yeah,
for sure.
yes.
Over Phantasmic seats. I was
I've
like,
seen it over a man before.
what?
Yes.
In Disneyland?
Wow.
Disneyland proper.
Oh my goodness.
I was like, "Ooh, dang, girl." All right. So,
Must be one hell of a man.
yeah, I guess so. So, what happens with stuff like that? What happens with fights? What do you do with it? How do you handle it at the time? How is it handled? Backstage, what goes on? And basically, how long do they have to stay in Disney jail? Now,
Oh, yeah.
unfortunately, there is no such thing called Disney jail.
I disagree.
No, there's not. There's
Yeah.
there's
kidding.
Okay.
there's no Disney jail. Like I actually did picture something and not necessarily something out of Pirates of the Caribbean.
The
where-
hole.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like that, but I pictured something like a holding room, like a drunk tank, something of that nature, and they have nothing like that on property. Nothing like that at all on property. But they do have Anaheim PD stationed there. They actually have a substation there for Anaheim PD. Anytime there is a fight, you will immediately see uniformed security guards there. But the majority of the time, they're not the ones that are there first. It's the ununiformed, the undercover security guards. Now, if you didn't know that, listeners, if you didn't know, there are people who appear to be tourists walking around the parks who are undercover security guards. I could not get this information from the person I talked to, but digging around, the numbers I've come up with for every one. I'm sorry, there's one undercover security guard in the parks for every 3 uniformed security guards.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay, that's so basically like there's a 33% ratio kind of a thing. So and they have cleverly disguised two-way radios, and so going back to my job and stuff I've seen with tech, they're able to make like the Apple iPod, the earphones. they're able to have those into an iPod, but it's actually a two-way radio. So you can have someone walking around looking like they're on their phone or in the music, and they can actually be communicating with a uniformed security guard saying, hey, I'm in this area and I see this person. Because now you're telling the uniformed guard to go and take care of it without giving yourself away.
Your cover's not blown.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so it's so they do stuff like that. They try to have as few people as possible go and confront the people so that it doesn't really bring attention to what's going on. They're immediately shuffled backstage. If it's a fight, they go backstage, they take care of it. Anaheim PD takes care of it. They're always on site, figure out what's going on. For drunk people, same kind of thing where they'll have one or two uniformed people and they'll take them backstage. For people who, how can I say this? For people who are on rides and they're enjoying stuff on the rides.
Oh, amorous people.
Thank you.
Okay.
So they're
Gross, by the way.
Yeah.
Who does that?
They're constantly watching. They're constantly watching you the entire time. They have cameras everywhere.
Okay.
There have been,
and they're infrared or whatever.
Yes, they can see you. It doesn't matter how
they can
dark
see
the
you in
ride
the dark.
is.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how dark the ride is.
So everybody hears that. They can see
They can see
the
you.
dark.
Yes.
It's
Right.
not 1982 anymore, people.
They're not going to come out with a flashlight. They
Right.
see what you're doing.
I was on Haunted Mansion, and we were stopped for some reason, and somebody came over the loudspeaker speaker, and they were like, "We can see you at all times."
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Like they said something else, but that was the part that stuck out to me, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you're nasty."
But that's what they'll
Loud
do. Is that
screamer.
they will come over the loudspeaker. They'll ask you to stop. They're not going to be specific about what you, but they'll ask you to stop. And then, if you don't stop, or especially for if you're underage, legally they have to call your parents. If they catch you in any kind of act like that, legally.
Beyond making out. We're not talking just kissing.
Beyond making out.
Okay.
Legally, they have to call your parents.
Good.
And so when you get to the end of the ride, there will be security.
Good.
Yeah, there'll be security there waiting for you, and they will escort you backstage as well. If you're
man, can you imagine? Get your
Bro!
Dad, what did you do, son? I was on Haunted Mansion and Angelica. It just, I don't know. It happened.
Oh
It
my.
was dark, and I love her.
The sound of the door knocking and everyone screaming, "Let me out!" I just really go ahead.
It's fine. Just don't tell your mother.
It's only gonna get worse.
So they'll have someone there waiting for you. They'll escort you backstage. If you're caught stealing, they will escort you backstage immediately as well. They'll look for the merchandise. If you have the merchandise, you're arrested on the spot immediately.
Wow.
So if you look at all these things, unruly people and unruly guests, the people who are the most unruly, there's two sets of people. Number one, pass holders. Because the more you're there, the more comfortable you become in the park.
I can see
Absolutely. Yeah, I've done that.
But the biggest culprits are people who are members of Club 33.
Wow.
Really?
Well, I guess because you're going.
They're even more entitled.
You're going in tears, right? You're going.
Yep.
Well, here I am. Rock you like a hurt. No. Like I'm here for 3 days, and I'm from Wisconsin. So I never get here. So everything's cool, and you kind of have respect for it.
Mind your P's and Q's.
Yeah, then people like us who are pass holders who are like, I know everything. Oh, this line is so long. Oh my God, when did they change that? That's so annoying, right? Then you have Club 33, people who are paying $20,000 a year,
Yeah.
can just, I mean,
it's my park. And
Yes,
plus
Yeah,
they just
exactly.
my park.
Plus they just had their 3 martini lunch as well.
And
so
paid
I'm
$300 for lunch.
right.
They're,
So it adds to it.
they're feeling something.
They're feeling good. They're feeling good.
And
Yeah.
also the mentality, probably Disney's not going to do anything.
I'm a Club 33 member.
You know who I am?
And I'm not saying all of them
No, of
because we
course
know a
not.
few that are very, very lovely people who would never do that.
Right.
But unfortunately, with stuff like this, sometimes. Anyway, so you're saying that's kind of numbers that the park has, or
That's the kind of numbers just from digging and
Okay.
stuff that was said that was not said by the person I
Right.
talked to, kind of
Okay.
thing.
All right.
Also, if there's a fire, kind of similar as the earthquake, Disneyland Fire Department is the first responder, but they only respond if there are visible flames. Cast members are usually they are able to make the call as far as what needs to happen because you don't want to jump the gun. So imagine if you're in line for a ride and all of a sudden the fire department shows up. even if they say everything's fine, they deem the situation as being normal, I'm still not going on that ride.
Oh, for sure.
Right. So they need to make the call as far as what's happening. And then last, certainly not least, what if there is some kind of attack?
Yeah,
So there's a chemical attack, terrorist attack, geese pooping on people, like what's going on, right? And they have basically they have a command room where they have managers who are monitoring the park, every part of the park, and they're responding to people, on two-way radios and pushing people different ways, telling them to go respond to this and that. They have a hazmat team on the premises as well. So if there is some kind of attack, like with the geese, they were able to respond to it immediately. But he couldn't say exactly what happened with 9/11.
Okay.
We know that the park was closed that day.
But the article that I read gave a little bit of information on what happened. Nothing super specific, of course, but basically the park wasn't open yet, and so the people, the cast members who had shown up to work to prepare the park and stuff, some of them stayed and did their job. Like the security people, they stayed and did what they needed to do and kind of like made sure like they were like in the park, kind of securing the park, just making sure of that kind of stuff. But and it goes along with what Miles said about Disney World. They actually sent most people who were scheduled to work that day to the resort, to the hotels.
To the hotels, yeah.
And just made it as fun as possible for those people. And it was interesting. At the very end of the article I read, there was like a quote. The next day when it opened, there was a quote from a Chinese tourist, and she was walking. She didn't know where Small World was, and so she asked the lady who's interviewed in this article, and she was walking her over to it because it was empty day at the park, of course.
Right. September 12th. Super empty.
And the Chinese tourist was like, I just want to say I'm really sorry for being here. Like I just planned this so far in advance. This is the only time I'm ever coming, but I feel really sad for you and your country, and I'm really sorry I'm here. And her response was just perfect because she was like, this is where you should be. Yeah. This is where, this is where you're safe. This is where we're going to keep you happy. This is a good place to be right now. And it's just like, that's all you can do. And especially in that kind of situation. And I think that's what they do, is that their job turns from, picking up trash or, I don't know, whatever any cast members are doing, to just helping people.
Right.
Yeah.
Just helping people through this thing, whatever it is.
Yeah, well, and I think that Disneyland has been such a staple in people's lives. And in that same article, there was a quote where someone said they didn't really realize the severity of what happened on that day until they realized that Disneyland wasn't open. Yeah. And if you look at the times that Disneyland has been closed, there are these huge monumental, life-changing things in our country. And I think it's amazing that not only have they put stuff in place to be prepared if something like that happens again, but I think it's amazing that they took that opportunity as well to remind people that this is a place where you are safe.
Yes.
And because of that, one of the things they've done after 9/11 is that the airspace above both Disneyland and Walt Disney World are now no-fly zones as well. And so they're trying to think of anything they can do to make sure that you're as safe as possible. But like I said, a lot of the information isn't out there. You can't get it because they don't want people trying to go around what security is. But
for sure. That's interesting, Terrence. Thank you very much, and thank you to our source.
Yes.
Our unnamed source. All right, it is time for us to go. We are up against the gun here. We actually are doing an interview, which is kind of cool, from another podcast called Beyond the Trope. And they're at beyondthetrope.com, and we're going to talk about just our little show here and why we do what we do, and all that kind of fun stuff, which I always love talking about myself. So that's
it'll be great for you.
I really don't. I hate it, but someone has to do it, and might as well be me. So here we go. Fact of the show: Bo Peep, this is from Toy Story, by the way, once a prominent figure in Toy Story Midway Mania, was removed before Toy Story 3 in favor of the newer characters in that film.
Yeah, she's not even in that film, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that.
Like, she was such a huge character for
was Woody's
first
girl, man.
Yeah,
and they just pulled her right out of the ride in favor of the new
Barbie takes over again.
And I was thinking about
Just saying.
I don't know. Anyway, okay, we're going to get out of here, everybody. Thank you very much for listening. Thanks to Miles for taking time out of his day to tell us about his hurricane disaster story and just going to give us a little bit of light in onto what Walt Disney World does in a major event like that. So that was kind of cool. I'm cool with going there during anything now. It made me feel really confident about that for some reason.
Definitely.
All right, everybody. Until next time, we'll see you in the parks.